Back in the locker room, Touch and Wolf joining us from the Pittsburgh Sports Report, our good friend Tony DeFazio. Tony, good to see you, buddy.
Always a pleasure to be here, guys.
It's nice to see you. I was remarking earlier. I said, "Are you losing weight?" And he says, "I don't know." He says, "Man, maybe, but maybe it's just you. You just wear, like big jackets."
There's, you got to have secrets. That's one thing I'm learning. If you're not willing to put the work in,
yeah,
you got to have some secrets.
Yeah, I see how that could be. Now,
good thinking.
Now, Tony, we've last couple of weeks we've had a heavy draft emphasis, but mostly it's been Steelers and other teams in the division. What we haven't talked about on this show, and I know you're always on top of that, are local guys that are showing up on other teams. And I guess the first guy, the most obvious, is Darrelle Revis, who ended up with the Jets.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the guy the Jets wanted, they jumped up 11 spots, cut right in front of the Steelers. I don't know if the Steelers were bluffing or not, but whatever they did, it worked.
It was a bluff. I think it was a bluff.
Caused the Jets to jump up there,
yeah.
And they obviously liked him. He was the first corner taken, and again, he's not only did he play at Pitt, but it's always good to see the hometown guys. Make it big. And after 3 years at Pitt, Revis is a good story. He almost didn't qualify academically coming out of Aliquip, but the Pitt coaches really, now they might talk differently, but they did not think he was going to make it. Worked his butt off all summer in the classroom, qualified, had a great freshman year, got better and better, and 3 years down the road, the guy's playing in the Big Apple for the Jets. So.
Well, what was interesting was, those New York Jet fans are a little bit rowdy, but when they announced Revis, they all cheered.
Yeah, that's a scary thing, getting picked by the Jets or the Giants, I would guess.
Right.
You don't want that negative reaction, but.
Well, another guy from the same area, from Penn State, Paul Posluszny, going to the Bills. That's an interesting pick as well.
Shane Conlon following his footsteps, same type of deal.
Yeah, exactly. That was, he broke a lot of Conlon's records at Penn State, and that was a guy a lot of people compared him to. Didn't have the best measurables, didn't run the fastest time, didn't have the best maybe body type, but productive as heck in college, and certainly if Posluszny can be anywhere near as productive as Conlon was with the Bills. You guys played against Conlon, I guess, right?
Yes, we did.
Yep.
Yes, we did.
Following right in his footsteps. Revis and Posluszny grew up 5 minutes apart from each other, too.
No way.
Yeah, they went to two different high schools. Posluszny went to Hopewell, Revis to Aliquippa, but they're both Aliquippa residents, and again, that's another one of those neat little stories. Grew up 5 minutes apart, and they're drafted about 15 or 16 draft picks apart, both pretty high picks. So.
Yeah, we went to different high schools together.
Yeah.
Thousands of miles apart.
They competed against each other in youth sports,
absolutely,
basketball,
the whole way up.
Youth football. That's really cool. I mean,
no doubt. And it's very neat just to, first of all, that they were doing it at the college level was kind of a neat thing, and now that they're doing it on the biggest stage in the world is one of those things you can feel good about as a neighborhood kind of a story. But these are two mean guys when you get between the lines, obviously. So be interesting to see those guys go at it, and they're both gonna have a chance to play right away. I mean, Posluszny is really penciled in as the starter in Buffalo. They don't have any other guys in the middle right now. So in fact, the only other guy who's a middle linebacker on that roster is a guy who was a special teamer last year. So. They're going to be expecting Paul to come in and play right away.
Well, you know what, and that's a good defense for him because Dick Duran runs a very cerebral type defense. You have to be analytical. You have to know what's going on. So Posluszny, and obviously he's a very bright young man and really, really understands the game. I think that'll be a real nice fit for him. He'll be Dick Duran loves smart players, so that'll be a great fit.
Oh, he'd have loved me then.
Yeah.
Hey, Paul,
That's a great
and
point.
and if you need any good joints to eat in Buffalo, give me a call, bud.
That's right. Jason Capizzi.
Another local guy?
Another IUP.
Another guy who turned things around. I talked
Yeah.
about Revis was close to not qualifying.
Right.
Capizzi was a kid out of Pine Richland. Enormous guy, 6'9", 325.
Yeah.
I mean,
He was a good basketball player.
He was a heck of a basketball player in high school. Very, very good basketball player. And he went to Pitt out of Pine Richland. Things didn't work out there. He had some off-field issues, but it wasn't. There was no criminal element. It was just a young kid who was a bit of a knucklehead for a while there.
Right.
Imagine that.
Knucklehead.
Exactly.
Knucklehead football player.
There's a few of those, right?
Yeah,
That's not
just
something
a few.
unusual.
Just a few.
But no, not to compare him with any of those. Again, there's no criminal element with Jason. He just needed to get his head straight, and he finally did. And he had to transfer to IUP, and had a very good pro day at IUP, and signed with the Steelers. So and they don't have any. They didn't bring any new tackles aboard the roster this year, so he'll have a shot to at least make the practice squad.
Yeah, he had a couple other teams interested, but very wise young man. I mean, two things. I mean, he's playing for the hometown team, but he's also going to a team that has not brought in a tackle.
Right.
And And so that'll be.
Think about that. You played tackle in the NFL,
right?
All right, pencil neck you,
yeah,
right. And then you got
me.
Jason Capizzi, all 6'9", 325 pounds of man mountain Dean.
Right.
Times have changed, huh?
Just a little.
Imagine that.
Just a little. What kind of do you think he makes the adjustment? Now he left after he left Pitt, went to IUP, did great. The fact that he's from a small school, I was from a smaller school.
Right.
How does he make the adjustment?
Well, that's going to be the interesting thing. I mean, IUP, as far as Division II schools, they churn out some NFL players. I mean, he'd be the third lineman if he makes the roster. To Leander Jordan is on an NFL roster, and Chris Villarreal.
That's right. Val's up. He was up in
Buffalo.
He
was in Chicago.
He was in
Buffalo?
Chicago. Went to Buffalo.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Val went to Buffalo.
So yeah, he'd be the third IUP guy.
Not to mention
IUP lineman. There are some other guys as well.
Not to mention all the guys. Remember the guys that tried out with the Steelers? Jeff Goganis and Ben Lawrence.
Ben Lawrence.
Bencher Ben.
Bencher Ben. And then and there was a third guy, Bert Schugerts. 3 guys. All of them were just jacked.
I know Lawrence was the late Ben Lawrence, actually.
Yeah, that's right.
He passed away. But obviously it's going to be an adjustment, guys, and certainly you guys know that. But I mean, if it's a guy who can make it on, onto a practice squad or something like that, then it's going to be a. The other interesting thing about Capizzi is the draft is so different now. It's only 7 rounds, so it's almost better to go as a free agent where you can pick your spot sometimes.
Right.
I'm laughing because I remember Ben. Remember Ben in Dallas?
Yeah.
He on a trap block got his nose smeared from ear to ear.
Right.
His face was a mask of
exploded.
blood. It just exploded.
Nose exploded.
And he was yelling, like this. I turned around, looked at him, his face. I went, Go to the sidelines.
Scared you as well.
Probably the most intriguing was Tyler Pelko. Ends up down in New Orleans, which I think is going to be a great fit for him. Division II small quarterback in Sean Payton in Eastern Illinois.
Yep.
And he loves guys like Tyler Pelko.
And you can see that right at the quarterback position when you take a look at the Saints roster. I mean, they have guys who have bucked the odds. Drew Brees was a guy who was sort of pushed out of San Diego. He was always people knocked on his size. He was hurt after he had that injury he was coming back from. Sort of bucked the odds to have a fantastic year last year as backup. Jamie Martin's a guy who wasn't even supposed to be in the NFL. 13 years later, here he is as a backup. So
was that the guy that played Bachelor or something?
No, that was
no.
That was a guy for the Giants.
Yeah, New York Giants.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was a little off.
Jesse Palmer.
A little.
Yeah,
Jesse
just
Palmer.
a little. Way off.
Jamie Martin might take offense to that, by the way.
Sticking with the quarterbacks, Luke Getzky.
He's in
Akron.
San Francisco.
Yeah,
so
San Francisco, another good place for a smart quarterback.
I think so. And again, both of those guys are the fourth quarterback.
And you know who the quarterback coach is there, don't you?
In San Francisco?
Frank Signetti Jr.
Well, there's the connection.
That's
there
right.
you go.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, what, is there a team in the NFL that is a good place for a dumb quarterback? Hey, let's find us a dumb quarterback and let's go put him on that team. What do you think, huh? Hey, who's got a roster spot for a dumb, quarterback? Let's find the stupidest quarterback we can and find him a roster spot.
Hollywood Henderson might tell you Pittsburgh would be a pretty good place, right?
That's true.
Hey, wait a second.
Yeah, paint that one out.
Absolutely. So interesting. We're seeing, but what's interesting about that is, to Wolf's point, quarterbacks that leave Pittsburgh, they're always the one thing that's unique about them. They're always heady quarterbacks.
Yeah.
You don't hear the dumb quarterbacks like the dumb Syracuse guys. You hear the dumb.
Oh, that hurt. That hurted him.
The dumb.
My bleeding thumb.
That's right. That's
got tagged.
But seriously, if for some reason, guys from this area they know the game.
And I mean, I guess it's been, you can go back and talk about all the different reasons, the hard-nosed mentality here and all that kind of stuff. But again, whether that's theory or whether that's just conjecture, who knows? But it comes true. It certainly paints itself true in real life in the NFL. And the WPIAL had a pretty good run of quarterbacks there for about 3 years in a row, starting with Bruce Gradkowski, who was a rookie last year with Tampa Bay. Now you have Getzey and Palko, who came out together the same year. And 1 year after them was Anthony Morelli, who a year from right now will probably be on an NFL roster as well. So, it was a pretty good run there, and now it's manifesting itself in the
Bulger,
NFL.
before,
you can go way back.
You know what? I got a theory.
What's
it has
the
something
theory?
to do with the water.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah, I think so.
I didn't drink enough water as a junior high school football player.
As Bubby would say, off that lake.
Off the lake. There you go.
The center from West Virginia.
Dan Moses.
Yeah.
Another guy who sort
was
of
a good
bucked the
player.
trends.
Yeah.
Very productive guy. Played guard and center for some very good West Virginia
So a lot of
teams.
people were surprised he wasn't drafted.
I sort of was too. I mean, again, he's always been too small. That was
Yeah.
always a knock on him. And Pitt didn't recruit him Pitt and Penn State didn't recruit him because he was too small. So he went to West Virginia for 4 years, kicked Pitt's butt for 4 years,
Right.
made them pay. And he's got that chip on his shoulder. He's always had it.
Right.
And I think it's going to probably serve him well. And again, going into Minnesota, they have 5 centers on the roster. Brought about 3 guys in this year, so they're looking for someone to come in
He could make it.
Yeah.
and back up Matt Burke, who has some injuries.
Yeah, I was mad at every other college that wouldn't offer me a scholarship too. But there
There
were
you
too
go.
many of them to go back and get revenge. We're going to take a break.
Maybe it's a school of thought. Hey, let's find a dumb center and bring him to Indiana State.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll have more with Tony DeFazio and my buddy here from Syracuse right here in the locker room.